Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. Today I'm here with the one and only Christy Whitman. How you doing, Christy?
I'm awesome. How are you doing?
I am incredibly well, and now we have found out, ladies and gentlemen, that we both have something in common, which is we have Italian origin. So, the first question before we all talk about money, success, abundance, quantum stuff, before we go and talk about that, I have a question to ask you, which is what was the most beautiful place you've ever visited in Italy?
In Italy. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, there's
in
so many,
Italy.
but I would have to say Positano. And
Ooh.
Positano was just so picturesque and it was just so beautiful. But I mean, all parts of Italy are beautiful, so I enjoyed all of them. But Capri was amazing, but Positano, I definitely would say.
Any particular memory that you have about Positano? Something that you did, or maybe something that you ate there, or a moment?
Yeah, I remember I went there with my parents. We were on a 2 week trip, and I had just was about 6 months into dating my husband of 11 years now,
Wow.
and yeah,
It
and
worked out
we were
well.
just about. Yes, it did. And I remember one morning at breakfast, we were sitting next to my parents. They had come down for breakfast earlier, and I was overhearing them talk because they've been married for 62 years. And I was hearing them talk about, when my dad was in college and when they first started dating, and they were just reminiscing about everything and just overhearing it. I was in that place. I had just gotten out of a divorce. I'd been in an 8 year relationship. I had met Frederick, my husband, right after that. We just started dating. And I got this feeling inside of me of just this huge desire to want to create a history with someone.
Hmm.
And I really was just hearing that. And I was getting really just emotional and grateful that my parents had that. And that's what I wanted for myself. And so I'm grateful now as I look back on that moment. So thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
We're creating a beautiful history together.
That's
So,
brilliant. I love Positano. I've been there on my honeymoon last year. So I mean,
oh,
my first year of survived the first year of marriage, which I'm really happy we made it. Oh my God, yes!
yay.
They all told me about take it one day at a time. Well, if every day is like that, sign me up for the rest of my life. So I'm really happy. But yeah, Positano was such a beautiful, beautiful place. So I'm happy you had a great time and my country was able to give you beautiful memories.
Oh, yeah.
Let's now talk about quantum stuff. Now, I'm using the term stuff, and I'll tell you why as well. Because we have a lot of people that when I think that the word quantum sometimes can be a bit mystical, right? There are some people that have a very different connotation of what the word quantum means to you. So I was reading that you're writing your next book, which is going to be called Quantum Success. I wanted to ask you what was your definition of quantum, in particular related to quantum success. Why did you decide to talk about this title, to write about this?
I love it because everything that I teach and talk about is based on the universal laws. And when we work with the universal laws, we understand them. They're working all the time, whether we know about them or not. And we align with them. There is a bigness, a hugeness, a potentiality that exists that doesn't exist when we're just trying to push through life and work hard and struggle and thinking that we're it. And when we can tap into and know that there is so much more than us and there's potential to create whatever it is that we want, we're working in a quantum field.
Yeah.
So the quantum success is not a linear step-by-step process. It's really being able to evoke abundance of energy and abundance of possibilities. And it becomes an exponential process of success versus step by step.
I like the word exponential. I love the word exponential. I love it so much that actually we called our company Growing Together Exponentially. So thank you for the plug. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
anytime.
we, what made you? What was your journey? What made you arrive where you are now, talking about quantum success and the law of the universe?
Well, about 21-ish years ago, I started learning about the universal laws and I started learning about energy and how our thoughts create our reality and that we're either repelling things from us or attracting things to us based on how we're feeling, what we're perceiving, what we believe, how we're, what we're saying, what we're doing in the world. And so for me to understand that each one of us is like an energy tower sending out a signal all day, every day. And those signals match the same type of frequency and vibrations and give us, hit my lamp. Give us, I talk with my hands, I'm Italian.
That's, I can see that. Keep going. Keep going.
My dad would always say, if you tie her hands behind her back, she won't be able to talk. So, it's really understanding and applying the universal laws. And when I started to do that, my life changed dramatically. So, that for me was my journey. And about 5 years in, really applying and seeing every aspect of my life change, I had my first book download through me. And it's been from that space and that journey that then I became a speaker. I then started coaching. And now all of my books, including Quantum Success, just downloads through me. So I can't just go, okay, today I'm going to write a book, or I want to write a book on this subject. All of my information comes through me. And I really believe it's because what I write about the formula in the book, that it's about alignment, really aligning with the pure potentiality of what you want to create, and then taking momentum from that place.
Which feels to me that it doesn't have to be forced. Like you're waiting for the information to come through, and then you are following the momentum that is created, but you're not generating the momentum. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. It's a difference between motivation and inspiration.
Right.
So motivation is like, okay, let's do it. Let's get yourself up. Let's go. Let's, kind of like an outward, external kind of pumping you up. Inspiration, when you're inspired, you cannot not do something. You cannot not take momentum, because you're just, before you know it, you're up, you're doing it, you're writing, you're making that phone call, you're living in that flow, and that flow, that guidance just moves you, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm in the process of doing this.
You wrote the first book, which was The Art of Having It All, and that became also a New York Times bestseller. That book. My very first
book was called Perfect Pictures. So
not the first book. Yeah, the Art of Having It All. Yeah, that became a New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
Was it something that was planned? To become a New York Times bestseller, you have a strategy. As long as you eat the strategy, it's very difficult. It's not like become an Amazon bestseller. It's completely different.
True. That's
like Amazon bestseller, you get 15 sales in 1 hour, and you're already an Amazon bestseller. New York Times bestseller, we're talking about very different numbers here.
Yes.
Was it something that you planned? Was it something that almost happened? Mixture of both?
No. It was when I had first downloaded my first book, and all of my friends and family bought the book. Oprah wasn't calling. So I went out and started, basically selling the book, speaking on the book. And I realized that to be a best-selling author, I did the whole Amazon campaign. This is before it was a big thing to do. And it's like, that really didn't do much, and for credibility's sake, to really set myself apart from other coaches and other authors, I wanted to be the best of the best. And what is the best in our industry? It's being a New York Times best-selling author. Because as I looked around, I saw my colleagues, and I looked at the people that I aspired to be like Marianne Williamson and Dr. Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and, Louise Hay. All of them were New York Times bestselling authors.
Absolutely.
So for me, and what I teach, right, is that became my goal. That became my vision. And with that, I had to feel my way into, what does a New York Times bestselling author feel like? How do they act? What do they say? What do they do? And so from that place, knowing what my alignment was with my vision, I would take the momentum. So whether it was learning to get trained to speak on TV and in radio, whether it was, learning how to be a better speaker on stage, whether it was, the different ways of promoting or selling a book, I would learn all those different things. And actually, I had 2 books at the New York Times. My first one was called Taming Your Alpha Bitch. And that was a very people either love the title or they hate it.
I love it. I'm one of the people that love it.
Good.
I'm sure my wife, knowing my wife, she will love it too.
It's funny though. You can't give a book like that to your wife and say, "Here, honey, I bought you a book." She'll
Oh
be
no
like,
no
"What the
no
treasure do
no!
you
That's not
say?"
no.
Right?
That's a very good point. That's the kind of present that her best friend could give to her and have a giggle. If I give to her, that's
Yes.
called divorce. So
Yeah, that's it. That's
I
it.
don't want-
The art of having it all, you could give it to her, and
yeah,
that would be like,
exactly. So
"Oh,
I'm going to buy
great,"
you
you
the
know.
art of having it all. That's it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, but with taming your alpha bitch, it was a strategy. It was it was trying every strategy and thing that I could do. It was kind of like taking a bunch of spaghetti and throwing it up against the wall and seeing what stuck, and it worked. So, but it was a lot of hard work, and it was interesting because now I look back from 8 years ago when it hit the New York Times, and I was exhausted, I was anxious, it wasn't a fun process. And now I look back and go, wow, I have a book launching, and I'm in a totally zen place, and I, really appreciate where I'm at. I love doing interviews. I'm not in that pressure cooker that I felt all those years ago. But yes, so it was internal alignment, but it was also taking constant action.
Was it like right now? Do you feel zen uh, because you have mastered even more the art of alignment, or also because you know you kind of know what's coming up? I mean,
Both,
the
both.
the first is the most difficult one because it's something new. You're just like, oh, I'm just doing something and maybe something will work. So you're saying
Yes.
both?
Yes, both, because I've been there, done that twice already.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me. I made it mean a lot because everything's the meaning that we give it, right? So
Hmm.
I made it mean so much when I become a New York Times bestselling author, and I'll never forget the moment. I was at the mall with my kids, and they were like 1.5, maybe 3, and they were in a double stroller. And I got the phone call from my literary agent. She said, "Congratulations, you're a New York Times bestselling author." And I was like, "Oh my God," And I looked down at my kids and I'm like, "Mommy's a New York Times bestselling
And they were
author."
like,
And they're looking at me like, "What?" You know, Nothing changed. They didn't love me anymore. My husband didn't love me anymore. There wasn't a parade that went through the town. I mean, nothing changed. And it was almost a feeling of depression on the other side of it because I made it mean such a huge, big thing
yeah.
and nothing changed. Now, years later, it's like, yes, I have the credibility and all that, but could I really say that much changed? Things changed in me,
Hmm.
because the energy I held myself in and the success bubble that I held myself in. But it's just really interesting the meaning that I gave it. And so the second time around, when I was having the Art of Having It All launch, I didn't have the same meaning and it didn't have the same value that it had the first time around. And it was easier and I
Yeah.
was more detached. And even now, I mean, of course, I welcome quantum success hitting the New York Times. That's totally my vision and absolutely, a great intention. And I'll do whatever strategies I know that worked on the last 2 books. But I'm just in the place of it doesn't, it's not going to mean anything.
I can see where you're coming from. I felt a very similar situation when I did my first TEDx talk. And TEDx is actually not a huge deal. It's not a big deal. It's pretty easy to become a TEDx speaker, I think. But at the place where I was before, I was putting so much pressure on this TEDx
Yes.
talk, and now I can be a TEDx speaker, which is like, and I look back at it, I was like, why was I so stupid? Why was I so silly? And,
Well,
that,
here's the difference is that we put, things that we want, right? We put it kind of on a pedestal or we put it higher than where we are. And then we do whatever we have to do vibrationally to get to that place, but to work hard, to make the strategy, whatever.
Mhm.
And then it's till we get there and it's like, okay,
Tick,
that wasn't, yeah, check.
check, done it.
Did that.
What's next?
Yeah, and I felt the same way. I did a TED Talk too, and I was like such a buildup for years, and it was a vision board thing, and I wanted to do a
Yeah,
TED Talk, and the whole thing, and it was like what this would mean and everything, and then I did the TED Talk, and I'm like, wow, okay,
great. You
I
have,
have
yeah, yeah, you have
I have more viewers, big deal, it's
yeah, you got a bit more viewers. You got for 2 3 days, people on social media keep saying congratulations on the same post that you said with your selfie. And then after 3 days, people have already forgotten that you did a TEDx talk. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, that's what's gonna happen. So it's good
It's
to
great
have.
to accomplish. It's great to
Yes.
accomplish these things, but it's the meaning that we give it, and when we make it mean something so much bigger, and we do because we haven't achieved that yet, right?
Hmm.
But it's like almost after you achieve it, it's like, well, that's great, accomplished, check. But it didn't. It wasn't this big, huge, massive boulder buildup,
Oh,
that
I'm
we made
liking
it
this
out to be in the
conversation. I'm
beginning.
liking this conversation because we're going into the right direction here. So, using the framework of quantum success and what you teach, do you believe that we need to put those things into a pedestal to be more motivated to achieve them? Or is there a better way
No, just
or a different
aligning
way?
with the feeling of it. Yeah, just aligning with the feeling of it instead of putting it up so high and thinking that when I get there, then I'm going to feel. It's really feeling how I'm going to feel once it's achieved. Because then it makes the whole process smooth and seamless and it flows. And it's like we all want what we want, whether it's doing a TEDx talk or hitting the New York Times, because we think we're going to feel a certain way once we accomplish it. Well, the easy way to do it is just feel what you are expecting to feel, because we're all after the feel good feeling anyway,
Hmm.
but we're assigning it. Oh, it's going to be then if I do this or if I accomplish that. Instead of doing that, go, how would I feel? Would I feel successful? Would I feel fulfilled, free? How am I going to feel? Feel that feeling first. And then the road to get there is so much easier. And the journey is just, it's more fun than trying to like, oh, but when I get there, then I'm going to feel that. Then I'm going to feel that. And then you get there and it's like, oh, I didn't feel that. Maybe it's another TEDx talk, or maybe it's another book hitting the New York Times. There's always this
Hmm.
pushing it away, or assigning it outside of ourselves so that we're not experiencing it in the now. And the now is when all of our power is.
I can hear some of our listeners here that I got the secret listeners here in my living room. I can hear some of our listeners saying, "Oh yeah, well, Christy is easier to say than to do it." What would you say to someone who is because we are all human beings and sometimes we are in very bad situations, and
Yeah.
some situations create very strong feelings, and I found that sometimes can be difficult to get back into the place of alignment where everything around you is falling apart. Like when things are in flow, oh, that's easy. It's like, oh,
Right. Oh, yeah.
I can visualize myself. Maybe 15 years from now, I can feel it right now. Praise the Lord, I got it. But when everything else is breaking apart, I think that's also the moment where we need it the most.
Absolutely. And
What
yes,
would you say about
it's
that?
very easy. It's very easy to feel good when everything's going right in your life, right? But the thing is that to get to a place of really making peace with contrast and understanding that whatever situation, circumstance, whatever relationship that you have that's not working right now, if you look at those situations and go, okay, my best thinking got me here. I don't want to continue to focus on what I don't want. I want to focus on what I do want. So start shifting the focus. What do I want? Let it be a point of clarity from that contrast. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how am I going to feel when it changes? So if someone's in debt, right, they need to start watching their language around that and stop saying, oh, I'm in debt, I'm in debt, I'm in debt, I can't pay my bills, I've got much money, going out. We're constantly talking about the same thing, and it's going to keep creating the same situation. We have to focus on, what do I want? Well, I want to have all my bills paid in full. I want to have extra money at the end of the month. Why do I want that? I'll feel free. I'll feel like I have more choices. I'll feel like I can do more things and accomplish more things. I feel like life will open up for me for possibilities, right? And then it's like, and how do you think you'll feel? Well, I'll feel free. I'll feel secure, right? And then it's bringing in that feeling in the now, because that's going to be the key to shifting the energy. Everything is energy in the universe. We now know this from modern science, from quantum physics. If you start to feel the energy outside of your body, inside of your body, of what you ultimately want to create, then everything has to change around you as long as you're being consistent. What most people do is, I'm in debt, I want this, but I'm in debt, but I want this, but I'm in debt. So it's like it's split energy, and we need to be consistent and have the energy flowing in the direction that we want to go instead of where we don't want to be. We're so accustomed as human beings to focus on what we don't want. I don't want to be late. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to get caught in traffic. Oh, I don't want her to break up with me. Oh, I don't want to lose money. We always focus on what we don't want. And that just generates more of what we don't want. We have to shift our attention on what we do want in order to create what we do want.
You mentioned that the first step is being clear. It's clarity. You want to be clear about what you want. What if someone is not clear about what they want?
It's perfect. And I'm glad you're asking that question, because if we look at what we don't want, we're very clear what we don't want, right? So let's just take a very simple example. I don't want to get caught in traffic. Right? So focus on that. You're going to continue to get caught in traffic. So take the clarity from that contrast. The clarity would be, I want smooth open roads. I want to get there with easy travel. I want courtesy drivers all around me. I want, whatever it is, right? I don't want to gain weight. I'd really like to maintain the weight I'm at, or I'd like to release some pounds, or I'd like to get in better shape, or I'd like to be more fit. So it's a different focus, and it might sound minuscule, and it might sound like, really, does that matter? Yes. What we say to ourselves, words matter. It says, I'm not a biblical person, but it says in the Bible, in the beginning, there was the word. So when we're saying stuff like, I can't afford this, we need to change our language to, this is not a financial priority for me right now. It's a very different energy, and it feels different saying those things.
Because on one side you're reacting, in the other side you are choosing that that's not a priority for you based on your situation.
Yes, and it's exactly, instead of being reactive to circumstances, situations, and events, you're being proactive to what you do want to create in your life.
Can you give an example of something that, 2 examples. One of something that happened to you, can be in the past or recently, where you were absolutely clear about what you want, and that happened. And another example after that, when you were going into reactive mode, and then what you wanted didn't happen. If you can give these 2 contrasts, because I think that people will say, oh, well, I would love to have some very practical example here, because I think that's the challenge every time we are talking about metaphysical stuff and quantum stuff. They are often up here.
Bring it down in
and
reality,
how do we bring it down in reality? Because at the end of the day, what we see is our life, is our experiences every day.
Exactly. So yes to both. My one example, and I've got many that popped in my head when you said, when did I have something that I didn't want and I focused on what I did want? When my son Maxim, I have 2 sons, when my baby was, he's now about to turn 8, when he was 2 months of age, he was rushed to the hospital and had to have open heart surgery. And the story behind it is remarkable and amazing, because he basically was a miracle child. He had a transposition of the great arteries, had to go in for open heart surgery. He was in the hospital for a month. The doctors basically said he's the oldest child that has ever been performed with this type of surgery, so we cannot guarantee any type of results. And the minute we got the diagnosis, I turned to my husband and I said, there is no other vision. There is no other thing that we're going to speak of. There is nothing else that we are going to say. There is nobody else that is going to have any energy that's going to come see him in the hospital unless they have positive energy. And what the vision is that he is growing older. He's home. He's wrestling with you and Alex. And we're going to Disneyland, and we're going on vacations, and that he is 100% in well-being. And we held that, and we would spend time looking at the positive aspects of the situation. Now, what could you think a positive aspect? Well, we were in Canada, and everything was fully paid for. We had a nanny that could take care and keep everything normal for our other son. We were only 40 minutes away from the hospital so that we could do back and forth, because we had 2 sons in 2 different places, and they were both babies. So we would go on and on about the different positive aspects, and we would keep our vibration and keep the focus on him growing up completely in well-being. he has gone and followed a cardiologist. We actually went last Friday, had all of his tests, and the doctor basically said, like, his surgery turned out better than we could have even expected or imagined. He's like a normal child that never had anything like that happen. So that's my one story of that. So in the most difficult of situations, if I could do that in the most difficult of situations, when fear and worry could be the dominant vibration, to be able to deliberately, really get focused. If I could do that for that, anybody could do it for any situation.
Absolutely. In particular, now thinking about a mom with this child, and compare it to, I'm in debt and I've got bills to pay, to the other side, I can risk to lose my child, is so that was a very, very strong exercise and a testament of the power of focus and vision. So well done for keeping that alive.
Thank you. Yes, and he's an amazing kid, so I just absolutely love him. So the other example that you were asking about is, I remember a couple years ago, I had my coaching certification, and we would always do these launches to enroll people into the program. And every year it was like we were having million and a half launches in income coming in twice a year. It was everything I was touching was turning to gold, right? And then something shifted. And we did a launch, and it was like, the way I felt was like I was, flying in an airplane, 35,000 feet, and all of a sudden the turbulence, just like dropped, and I was at 100 feet off the ground. And within, 8 consecutive launches, having the success and have the enrollment and having people say yes and register, to have a very limited amount, especially when I thought, ooh, let's try this new thing, and let's do this new thing, and let's do this new thing. Now I understand all of it was coming from, we're not doing enough. It was coming from lack. And whenever you take anything or do anything from lack, you can't create abundance, because they're two different vibrations. I see that now, right? But back then it was like, I tried everything, it's like, I'm doing everything, and why is this not working? And so I was in that fear place. I thought I was going to lose my business. I thought, oh my God, it's never going to be what it was. And, so I allowed myself to just stay in that space. And I felt like I was beating myself up and making it mean something about me, and that my success has all run out. I'm not going to be successful anymore. So until I caught myself running down that track of what I don't want, the track of, negativity, until I really woke up and went, whoa, what are you doing? What's the vision that you do want? This is a thing that happened. Mm-hmm. I was able to step back and look and go, you were creating that whole situation from a mindset of lack, and that nothing was enough. So since then, I've taken a step back, this couple of years ago, and really focused on the vision for what I do want, and only doing those strategies that actually feel good and that are in alignment, not based on what I'm afraid of and what's in lack, but what feels good to me and what's in alignment, and taking momentum from there.
So thank you for sharing. I'm sure that everyone who is listening can relate about a moment where there was a person that you loved that had some health issues or some problems, and then you needed to provide and need to be there and to hold the fort. And then another situation where stress kicked in for business happening and launches and new programs. So thank you very much for sharing. Now I want to move to the final session of this interview, which is called Lifting the Veil. And that's where you're going to share something that you're doing or you're using in your life, on your business, that everyone needs to know. It's something which is so good that everyone needs to know. What is that for you?
For me, it's really about meditation. And when I say meditation, I don't mean just like sitting in a yoga position, with music and a candle on and thinking of nothing. For me, the way I understand the brain to be is that we are always monkey mind. We are programmed to cycle between the past, the present, and the future. The past, the present, and the future. Even someone listening, they might have been thinking, what am I going to have for lunch? Or what did I have for breakfast? Our mind is always doing that. So for a human being that's not a monk living in a cave, for us to sit and meditate and think of nothing is daunting. And that's why most people don't do it. But guided meditations, like the meditations I take people through and that I do when you get the book Quantum Success, you get these guided meditations. Your mind is engaged and you're having your mind move the energy in your body. And as you are moving energy out of your body, say something that's a block or a lack or some kind of negativity or lower level energy, as you're moving that energy out and you're bringing in a higher vibration, just with the intention of bringing in and attuning to a different frequency and energy, that moves the old out, and that actually creates change. So I think everybody needs to do that type of meditation, because it is such a key to success. It's always been a key to my success. It's been the key to my students that have been with me for years and had their lives completely changed. It's shifting the energy, and meditation through guided meditation is what works for most people.
Yeah, and it's much easier to follow, because instead of focusing on your breath or your mind is engaged in a certain activity,
Yes.
and there is an intention behind it, rather than trying really hard to achieve this moment, these few seconds of complete stillness. That
Yes.
I like that. I like that. So you said that people can get this meditation when they get the book, so they are included in the book.
Yes, and I'm actually going to gift the book to all of your listeners. I just ask that you pay for the shipping. So you can go to quantumsuccessbook.com and you just put in your information there, and you'll take care of the shipping. I'll take care of the book. It's a hardback cover, $26 book. And with that, when you get the book, there's meditations in there, but then it also has a link to the website where you can hear me actually guiding you and taking you through that, shifting you step by step in the process in the book.
That's brilliant. So the links are going to be in the show note. Make sure that you get the book Quantum Success, because as we shared in this interview, then it's something that can shift the entire results that you can have in your life, in your business. And I believe, I'm a big believer in the power of energies and alignment, because I found that every time something great happened to me, and it wasn't a fight to get it, then I was operating at a higher level, at a different level than the times where I got and achieved something, but it felt it was a constant fight and I had to knock wall after wall after wall after wall. So make sure that you get the book if you want to have an easier life, because I believe life is complicated enough. We have enough challenges thrown at us. It's not going to say that you get the book and your life will become nothing ever is going to touch you again. No, but you will have better tools to deal with it and to be in alignment, right?
Much better tools. Everybody needs to know about these 7 essential laws, because they're how our universe works. It'd be like trying to go bake a cake and not having the recipe. It's like you just start taking Tabasco and all these different ingredients that would make a horrible cake. Or if you were going to go build a building or your dream home and you didn't have blueprints, you didn't have plans. Or another way of saying it is, if you're going to go play baseball and you've never played the game before, you've never seen it played, someone hands you a bat and says, okay, hit the ball and then run. You go run to third base, you're out. So it makes sense to know what the rules of the game are. And these 7 essential laws, when you know these, like you said, life isn't always unicorns and rainbows and lollipops all forever the rest of your days. There's contrast, and we need to take that contrast, look at what we don't want, decide what we do want, but learn how to apply these so that we're more focused on the direction of what we do want and being a visionary instead of reactionary, and creating that alignment and momentum towards what we do want.
That's brilliant. So guys, get the book. What's the website again?
quantumsuccessbook.com.
quantumsuccessbook.com. You will find all the links, as well also the links on the social media, so you can connect with Christy here in the show notes. So make sure that you start following her and the beautiful material that she's putting out there consistently. Christy, thank you very much. It was an amazing interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening or watching, wherever you are, depending on which platform you're using at the moment. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Come on, subscribe right now so you don't miss any other episode, and make sure you give us a review. 5-star, of course, and let us know what did you enjoy the most about from this interview that we had with Christy. Up until next time, I wish you a fantastic day, and always remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao!